What's going on, Space Monkeys? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm your host, Robert Durden, and tonight we're doing some actual news rather than making fun of people, although I'm pretty sure I'll make fun of people along the way along with my news. So we're going to talk about the eviction moratorium, and this is the moratorium that bans people from being evicted from their homes if they're renting by their landlords until June 30th. That's the last day that this moratorium will be in effect. And we need to extend this, and of course Joe Biden's dragging his fucking feet to extend the moratorium. I'm going to read to you here from Common Dreams exactly how this came about. And basically, like, a whole bunch of landlords who, for the record, landlords should not be a thing. Like, landlords shouldn't exist. They exist because capitalism allows lazy-ass people with too much fucking money to go out and buy houses and like make money off of their money and never have to lift a finger forever. Landlord is not a job. It shouldn't exist. And quite frankly, renters markets shouldn't exist. If we had a decent nation that paid people enough money, everybody would be able to own what kind of apartment or house that they wanted. But I digress. Landlords are opening their big fucking mouths and basically complaining that Biden needs to not renew the moratorium on evictions. So I'm going to read to you here from Common Dreams. In response to a legal challenge from a group of landlords and real estate companies, attorneys general in nearly 24 states are urging the U.S. Supreme Court to uphold the CDC's and Prevention Life-Saving moratorium on residential evictions for non-payment of rent during the COVID-19 pandemic. The national eviction moratorium, first implemented last September, is set to expire on June 30th. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said that discussions are ongoing as to whether the agency will extend its partial ban on evictions. Earlier this month, property owners led by the Alabama Association of Realtors asked the Supreme Court to vacate the CDC's eviction ban. Quote, the landlord group said that U.S. District Attorney Dabney Friedrich's May 5th decision nullifying the moratorium should take effect immediately. Despite ruling in favor of the landlords, Friedrich agreed to place her decision on hold to allow President Joe Biden's administration to appeal. So that's what's going on, and Biden needs to appeal, and if he does, he'll win, and then we'll have our moratorium extended another couple of months, probably 6 months, maybe less. I want to read just a little bit more to you here, guys. According to the news outlet, the landlords pushing for an end to the moratorium argued that the CDC overreached its authority in imposing the restrictions on evictions, a move the agency made to curb the spread of COVID-19, which has caused almost 600,000 deaths in the U.S. so far. Meanwhile, research has shown that measures to reduce displacement among the coronavirus crisis prevented thousands of additional deaths, suggesting that the federal eviction ban has been an effective intervention to safeguard public health, wholly consistent with the agency's mission. So, from a medical perspective, this makes tons of sense to make sure you don't kick people out onto the streets. If you do so, only half of Americans are, or a little less than half, I think, of Americans are totally vaccinated right now. So you need 70% to be totally vaccinated to have herd immunity so that we can get things under control. If you put a whole bunch of people out in the streets, it's going to cause a whole bunch of extra deaths. We know this from studies. They end up in crowded spaces, they end up on the streets, they don't have a place to live. There are going to be more people spreading COVID that haven't been vaccinated yet. We're acting like this is over. It's really not, and this is a really dumb idea for medical purposes. Don't put people out on the streets, okay? And they go on to say here, like over 20 attorney generals wrote a letter to make sure that this does not happen, basically trying to convince Biden to extend the moratorium. Second part of this episode, I want to say, I think it's unlikely that Joe Biden doesn't extend the moratorium. The bourgeois, the elites in this country, the people that really, really run things, our politicians and their CEO masters, I don't think they're stupid enough to put 10.4 million people, that's the amount of people, 14 to 15% of our population, or of renters, are behind. 10.4 to 5 million people would be out in the streets, and they'd be very angry, and they'd be looking for a place to turn their ire. It's just one of those things where, like, I'm almost torn on what I want to happen. I almost hope they're stupid enough to not extend the moratorium on evictions, because you'd almost certainly have protests in the streets bigger than you've ever seen before, because you'd have 11 million more people on the streets than you did before. Are they that stupid? I mean, Joe Biden's pretty stupid himself, but I don't think his puppet masters are dumb enough to, like, say, Joe, yeah, we're going to kick all these people back onto the streets. What I imagine is going to happen is they'll tell the landlords to go get fucked. We're still in a pandemic, obviously. They'll use a medical basis for saying, no, we're preventing COVID. We're not going to put these people out on the streets for the sake of not allowing COVID to spread anymore. And they'll frame it that way, and they'll extend the moratorium. Less than 10% chance that they allow the moratorium to expire. Now, last question. Why do they always tend to, like, drag this shit out to the very last second? A fearful population, like what we have now, where 90% of us are living day to day in fear of, like, being able to pay the bills, or, you know, if we get injured, having to pay medical bills. We live paycheck to paycheck. We're constantly getting underpaid by whoever pays us. Most people are stressed out, and I think they keep us like that on purpose. They do that because a fearful population is open to propaganda. A fearful population is open to hating other people that they see on mainstream media, that they're being demonized. You know, a very fearful population tends to fear the other. It also tends to be very manipulatable. So by them keeping us in a constant state of, like, stress hormone, cortisol rush all the time, we're more manipulatable, and that's the way that they like us. So I think that's the reason that they drag this stuff out to the very last second, and the reason that it always seems like they never get anything done is by design, because they've got us right where they want us. And by keeping us always fearful and stressed out and so focused on, like, making ends meet in our lives, we're less likely to take notice of the things that they're getting away with, and we're also much more highly susceptible to propaganda. A fearful populace is always able to be targeted in a large part because of their fear against the other, and they are therefore much more manipulatable. They're easily divided. So that's why they do this. That's why we never seem to get nice things, and why, if it turns out that the moratorium does get extended, which I think it probably will, it'll be right at the last second, because they don't want to give you any breathing room. They don't want to extend the moratorium 6 weeks ago and, you know, give you guys a breath of fresh air. They like it that we're all very fearful. So do your best to not be fearful. Let's unite, and you know, I hope they're dumb enough in a way to let the moratorium expire, because you'd see a general strike within a week. They're not going to put 11 million people on the street. They're not that stupid. Joe Biden himself is stupid, but I don't think the powers that be, the people really pulling the strings that make Joe Biden move, I don't think they're going to make 11 million people go out of their houses and lose everything and put them on the street. They'd have a transnational riot within 3 days. In a way, I pray they're that stupid. We'd have everything we wanted within 2 or 3 weeks of that. But I don't think they are. So for all you people out there that are worried about being kicked out, I would rest easy. I don't think that Joe Biden's going to kick you out. I don't think they're that dumb. So I'll talk to you guys later. Keep fighting the good fight out there.